Hello, everyone. It is good to see you. It's good to be seen. And after this video plays for a while, it's good to have been seen. Again, good afternoon. Uh, it was something that was laid on my heart just listening to certain YouTube channels. I'm not going to get personal, but the chips will fall and they will lay where they may. Shout out to all the YouTube channels that are doing the best that they can do, that are doing an awesome job. I'd like to commend the Porter podcast for doing an excellent job covering the Errol Spence Jr. and Ugas fight. That was a great fight. I'm telling you, when Errol Spence Jr. get in there, he definitely will like for you to have your eyes on him. Because he has his eye on you, and he will take care of not you, but your eye. Just a little joke for those of you that are boxing fans or decafs, like my man Aki says. But listen, being an observer, you don't just look at things or look at information. You listen to information. You internalize the information. You think about the information so you can understand the information. And once the information is presented and dissolved, you synthesize it and you come to your best conclusion. And with that being said, let me say this. We are all accountable for our actions. Paperwork may say we're not, but just to give you an example, if you're out there waving a gun, it doesn't matter if you went through compulsory education and you were on a 504 plan or you were a special needs child. The police will enforce the law and there may not be any justice, but you could lose your life waving a gun, regardless if paperwork says that you're accountable or not accountable for your actions. I don't know if you know it or not, but today is going to be a great fight. My man Devin Haney, he's going to be fighting today. And it's going to come on ESPN, June the 4th. I like Devin Haney. The reason why I like Devin Haney is because he has a good heart. And the reason why I say he has a good heart, I've been watching him on videos ever since he's been working with Floyd Mayweather, and people call him Floyd Mayweather Jr., but not senior, but Floyd Mayweather Jr. But actually, Floyd Mayweather Sr. worked with him very much so. And the reason why Floyd Mayweather Sr. worked with Devin Haney is because this came out of Floyd Mayweather Sr.'s mouth, that he saw in Devin Haney what he saw in his son. And that's something powerful to be said from the father of the great Floyd Mayweather Jr. Camacho Jr. from Australia will be fighting Devin Haney today on ESPN, 7:30. If it's not 7:30, 7 o'clock. But nevertheless, if you can get on ESPN, get on at 7 o'clock. That way, if it's 7:30, you have 30 minutes to do your thing in terms of get yourself together and watch the fight. But if it comes on at 7 o'clock, you'll be ready to be there. And it's going to come on, but there's going to be an undercard. And I'm not sure of the undercard, but I definitely want you to see that fight. But my point is, in the conferences that the fighters have among each other with a moderator, moderator, a person that's in between the fighters and orchestrates the questions. George Kambosos Jr. is not that much older than Devin Haney. If I'm not mistaken, George Kambosos Jr. is 28, Devin Haney's 23. They're 5 years apart. But George Kambosos Jr. has a habit of calling Devin Haney boy. And then he gets slick out of his mouth and calls him kid. Devin Haney is a black man, just like myself. I'm an older black man, but he is a young black man. And men, regardless of color, creed, religion, does not want to be called a boy. It is disrespectful to call a man a boy, especially a black man, because if you understand the history of African Americans, especially African American men, they were called the name boy because the people that were doing it were racist. And the reason why I say the people that were doing it were racist is because they were in charge of holding back a race of people and impeding upon their freedom. That's why I say they were racist, because they were in control of African Americans in the United States physically. And in another video, we'll talk about slavery lives on. But understand this. Stop calling men boys. Stop calling black men boys, for the simple fact that it's been happening for hundreds of years, and it's insulting. It's not a compliment. It brings back ancestral memories that are in our DNA. When you say that, what comes to mind? Chains, being whipped, watching back in the day when Hope, unborn, had died. Here's a wound, and here is salt. The wound will not heal if there's salt thrown on to the wound all the time. So how do we heal the wound? By stopping the salt from landing in the wound. What is the salt? The salt are spirits. Spirits are words. You speak life into a situation through the tongue. And you can speak spirits that are good, or you can speak spirits that aren't beneficial and are not good to the situation that you're speaking into. For example, you don't say, this is this person's karma, because you disagreed with the person's tone and delivery and examples that they were given. And I'll let you think about that. But when the wound exists and the salt continues to be presented, it's not good for that person's mental health. It's not good for that person's health, period. So what do? Again, stop with the salt. Now you may say, well, it's been hundreds of years, so they should be able to get over it. How can you get over watching a woman on a platform, a stage, and being made an example because her husband or because she tried to flee from slavery, and she's pregnant and standing on the stage? Kids, don't listen to this. Only what I am saying needs to be heard by people that don't know anything about this, that are grown. Because we don't know who these people were that were made of an example. We just know they were our ancestors as African Americans. When I said back in the day when Hope Unborn had died, white men went up to the stage, or were already on the stage, and split the belly of a pregnant African American woman, a pregnant black woman, a pregnant woman that came from Africa. And not because she came from Africa, because she came over on her own free will, but because she was captured. And this is just one part of black people. Many of us came over in 9 AD, and that's a talk that I'm gonna have with you in our later videos. But this does exist. When you have done people wrong for a long time and you ask them to get over it, the castration, the legs being amputated because one wants to be free, and you say you should be able to get over it, ask the Jewish people, have they gotten over the Holocaust? Stop throwing salt on the wound. The way you can do that, watch what you say. You can't say certain things to certain people when you know what they have been through. You can't say to a man that is having difficulty with losing weight that you're fat and it's all your fault and I despise you. And you don't even need to be in the same room with me and breathing the same air that I breathe. How dare you say something like that to a man or a woman? You don't say those things like that to people that you know that are having difficulty with their weight. Just like a person that is thin, that wants to gain weight. You don't say, oh, you're skinny. Oh, you're skinny. Oh, you're thin as a rail. Just because you aren't skinny, or just because you're the opposite of skinny, and you may envy the person that you call skinny, you might be making that first person feel bad. Because I remember when I was coming up, I didn't like to be called skinny. Slim was cool, but skinny, I didn't like that. Because when I thought of skinny, I thought of skin and bones. But see, if you weren't thin all your life, you wouldn't understand if you were the opposite or so-called in between. Empathize. When you empathize, you put yourself in that person's shoes. When you're able to put yourself in that person's shoes, then you can understand. And then once you understand, you can come to a sensible disagreement or a sensible agreement based on putting yourself in that person's shoes and understanding that person's experience through your vicarious experience. Stop throwing salt on other people's wounds before people start throwing salt on your wounds that may come soon to pass. That's my time. I appreciate you listening to me. I'm not here to make anyone feel bad. I'm just here to caution you because there was a group in the 70s, might have been the 60s, it could have been the 50s. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Sly and the Family Stone, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't Sly and the Family Stone, it may have been The Fifth Dimension. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. Do your research. It just came to mind. But I can tell you what the song is. Living in a glass house. Don't throw no stones. Take care, be blessed. May the good Lord keep you and may heaven smile upon you. Bye for now.